Miles Johns against Kevin Natividad. We got -185 for Miles Johns and +160 for Kevin Natividad. Let's start off with Miles Johns, who's coming off his first pro career loss, where he fell to Mario Bautista via flying knee and ground and pound. Beautifully placed flying knee from Bautista, and Johns knew it. Like, he didn't even protest the stoppage or anything like that. He knew he got caught in the button. He gave all the daps to Mario Bautista for being able to finish that fight. But that was a fight that was tough for Mario, or for Miles, I should say. You know, he was dealing with the 2-inch height advantage for Mario Bautista, a seeming reach advantage as well too, but that's always exaggerated due to the height advantage. So that's something that people need to realize as well. But that was a fight where he just looked like he had issues trying to close the distance. You know, in that fight against Cole Smith was more than happy to engage in the grappling exchanges, which is why that size difference didn't make as much of a difference as this Mario Bautista fight did. So that's something to note here. Johns, obviously trading over there at Fortis MMA, has a great head coach in Saif Sayoud that I am very trusting in. I know whenever guys go down there, they have a really good game plan that they're trying to put together to defeat their enemies, and they have a solid track record as well too. So I'm liking what I'm seeing from Miles Johns. Obviously, that tough setback to Mario Bautista should light a fire under him, and I'm expecting him to come in here, pretty set on getting a W and getting his hand raised. To be successful, he has to get his grappling game going. He is explosive. He's fast. His footwork is decent. But there are some things in his striking that I don't really like. At times, it looks like he's reaching a little bit too much, which makes him a little bit off balance, which really allows his opponents, if they were to counter, to really be a little bit more effective with it. It's going to be harder for Miles to really get out of the way when he's, kind of just stumbling over himself and having these unbalanced combinations and trying to close distance like that. So that's something to note of here. But he is a strong guy. He is quick. He's explosive. And he could absolutely grind guys up against the cage and even take them down and do some damage from on top too. And I think this is a good spot for him to go out there and do just that. There's nothing that Kevin Natividad does that really blows my hair back. The guy obviously has a bit of a striking advantage here. He has some solid power as well too. But in terms of an all-around game, I feel like this is kind of an easy game plan that Saif Sayoud should be able to draw up for Miles Johns to get this victory here. It's going to have to center around a lot with, cage clinching, controlling, kind of outpowering Kevin Natividad. I expect Miles Johns to have the strength advantage here. But when you do go ahead and have that type of game plan, the one concern here with Miles Johns would be the potential cardio issues later in the fight. When you're squeezing and you're holding on a guy for so long and just squeezing those muscles out, it really does add stress to your cardio and your gas tank. So that's something that he definitely needs to worry about. Kevin Natividad seems like a guy that could capitalize on somebody that has cardio issues. So that leaves me a little bit worried when it comes to Miles Johns here. The line is starting to come down a bit, which kind of makes sense. So right now we have -185. He did open up at -215, and now we're slowly seeing that money on Kevin Natividad start to come in. And it makes absolute sense, like I said. I think that Natividad is live here, but I'm just not the most certain in terms of actually playing the money on him. Like I said, I'm not the most, blown away by this guy. There isn't anything that really jumps off the page at me that makes me believe that Natividad should be able to go out there and get the finish, outside of the possible, cardio issues that Miles Johns has. Natividad 9-1. I believe he is 9-1. I just want to confirm that number. He's 9-1. His only loss was a 9-second KO to a guy named Glenn Baker way back in October of 2017. He got dropped pretty quickly, and I completely understand the referee jumping in there. But since then, he's put together 5 straight victories. He was supposed to make his UFC debut against Brian Kelleher. He had to pull out, unfortunately, due to a positive COVID test. But that's unfortunate for him. But now here he is back, making his debut against Miles Johns, who's probably a little bit of an easier opponent to go up against compared to Brian Kelleher, who, good striking, good submission game, decent jiu-jitsu. So he had a little bit more to worry about with Kelleher than he actually has with Johns here. But still, I think Johns being too explosive, too quick, having some power in his hands, as well as, having the potential to go out there and kind of clinch fuck and grapple fuck Natividad, that's something to worry about here. Johns doesn't have to be successful in getting the fight to the ground. It's just more so controlling Natividad up against the cage, nullifying the punching power and the striking coming from Natividad. And I think that's the best way for him to go out and do that. Obviously, we should see Johns kind of just bounce around at range, land a couple shots here and there, just blitzing in. But he is going to have to worry about the power coming back from him, from Natividad. One thing I also want to know, kind of like I said off the top of the breakdown here, is the height difference that Johns had to deal with in that fight against Mario Bautista is not going to be relevant here. We got 5'6" Kevin Natividad against 5'7" Miles John. Again, Miles John seems like a shorter guy too. 5'7" seems a little bit of a stretch. So I'd be more interested in seeing what the stare downs look like. Hopefully they're both either barefoot or at least in shoes or something where they can kind of see roughly where their heights are at. You know what I mean? If it's not too big of a height difference, I don't think that Miles Johns would have as much issue in terms of closing distance, landing some shots and trying to get out. But again, I do believe that Kevin Natividad has some serious power in his hands too, and that's something that he's going to have to worry about. Of his 9 wins, 5 of them have come by KO and 1 of them by submission. So that's something just to keep in mind. All right. In terms of a prediction for this fight, I do side with Johns. I do think the line is a little bit wide. I'd like to see, how he looks after coming back from his first ever loss. And, he should win this fight. But I'm not the most confident in it either. So, nor am I confident enough on the Natividad side either. I know a couple of people that are on Natividad, and they definitely see a little bit more in him than I do. But this is more of a pass fight for me. Unless we get down to like -130, -120 for Miles Johns, I'd consider at that point. But I don't see it getting there. So I'll still go with Miles Johns to win this fight via decision.